Good morning, freedom fighters. It is 9:12 a.m. East Coast time, November 29th, 2024. I have some deep concerns over this incredible cold weather system that is coming down. In Florida here, we're going to be several days, mostly the week, in the low 40s, I believe. Here, let me see. But actually, here, I'll look at my stuff later. I'm more concerned about Asheville, North Carolina, my friends. I um I know there's people here that is completely homeless, living in campers and tents. They have no way to heat their homes if their propane runs out, and which it could over a week long. They have 7-day forecasts here for Asheville. Every night is well below freezing except for one on the final day of Thursday of the 7-day forecast. It is 34 degrees. But now Monday night or Monday morning here, it's showing the low of 18 degrees. That will freeze all water pipes. Most campers are not designed for that. These people are going to be in desperate need for help. I don't know how to really get this out, but pose myself there for a second. I don't know how cold people has been, but as a commercial fisherman, I have been on the edge of freezing to death. That is a bad thing to not be warm, my friends. These ripples from the machine that we see on is very concerning. I already tried to make this video once, man. It's heartbreaking to know what's been done to these people. It was an attack. Florida was attacked. These people was the real target, in my opinion. Helene wasn't a geoengineering attack. This is a machine that is running right now, pushing this cold weather down. These are not natural gravity waves. It doesn't make any sense, especially when I have videos of these so-called gravity waves going in every direction. My heart just races for these people. But also, to bring this cold nucleation or chemical nucleation of cold weather, look at the chemtrail lines in this material. I see Wendy.com is part of their evil plan. They, instead of the decent 2-hour loop, they have went to a 1-hour loop, which is basically a 35-minute loop because it pauses. Worthless. Everything they give us will become worthless. Heavy chemtrailing in this. I wish I could get the 2-hour loop, but there's a very distinct chemtrail. All this looks very suspiciously like aluminum, highly reflective material in the sunlight. Yesterday, even they bombarded Jacksonville, Oregon, and Washington was being bombarded as well. But right this minute in London, this morning in London was amazing. And it's really blurred and not a great loop because of 1 hour, but stand by, I want to show it to you. On the way across to the pond, we stopped off over top of Nova Scotia, Canada. Incredible machine waves as well being seen in this cloud formations. New Hampshire, Vermont has massive frequency waves over top of their states. And you can see this from the ground. It is undeniable what you're looking at. And the clouds pass through the machine. The machine doesn't move. It's satellites, everything working together is one device. You know what I mean? Satellites, Doppler, cell phone towers is a massive HARP system. The entire planet is covered in a HARP system. But let's go on to England and look at their operation this morning. This is the worthless 1-hour loop that they now give us on Wendy. You can still see hints of chemtrailing out here in the I'm not sure the name of the sea right this second, but out here in between Denmark and United Kingdom. I haven't fished these waters yet, but I would like to. Yeah, you could definitely see chemtrails. But let's go back before our daybreak ever even thought of it happening. Let's go back 6 hours. If it'll load. If not, let me pause it. Even going back 6 hours, it's still daylight in London. In the United States, it's very much dark. But you can see the aluminum shines differently than the fog bank or somewhat natural cloud systems. They have their conveyor belt spin. Everything's very glitchy this morning. But you can see their conveyor belt spin that they create to keep this mad weather systems just rolling over top of these same countries over and over again. They've created historic floods in every country this year, and it's not natural. It is geoengineering. Climate change is real, and it is man-made, but it is made by mad lunatics. That's the problem. Like I told my friend, that I don't have a problem with them playing with the weather, but it's killing everything. You're controlling people's abilities to grow crops or flood them out of their homes and lands, like we have seen with Asheville. Unbelievable frequency waves on this side, and I'm sure if I look over here, there'll be frequency waves pushing the other side. But here comes another major weather system that will have chemtrails and frequency waves. But while we're on the topic of these mad lunatics destroying everything, I want to show you what I noticed as a commercial fisherman. This year in Alaska, I we travel hundreds of miles through Southeast Alaska. It's truly one of the most beautiful places you ever want to visit. I commercial fish Alaska, and we fish out of Sitka, but we fish every bit of this through the years. I have been some part of this entire mountain system. And through the well, I've been out there 15 years, but through the 8 years especially, I've noticed unbelievable amount of dead trees. And yes, a lot of it has to do with beetles, but were these beetles released? Also, are these trees weakened by the chemicals that allows these beetles to take over? These trees has been there. Some of them are 800 years old. It's killing it down to the ceilings. Something has changed in this area, and we're losing everything. But it's not only Alaska. Stand by for this truth. And before I get into the video of losing all the trees, the birds, the bees, and the fish, I really want to thank some platforms that has brought the warriors to my attention, to me to their attention. There we go. I am a third generation commercial fisherman. I am not scripted. There is no backing from Walt Disney telling me what to say or not to say. So you're going to see unscripted truth here. The truth is that we are losing our planet, and I am witnessing the death of all ecosystem, the entire ecosystem, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and it has to be connected to geoengineering. This was a short film, 7 minutes long. I hope y'all watch it. I thought it was important at the time. It's 8 months old or better. It does have 1,000 views, which is really high before great platforms like Dutchanese, Brush Junkie, Mike Decker, some great people that has gave shout outs about my site, that has brought people to my site. I want to welcome each and every one of you from those people. I am here to save the planet. I want warriors to help spread this information. Please help save our planet. I want my life back as a commercial fisherman. I do not do the entertainment world. I don't watch Hollywood. I don't care about the internet. I don't play video games. This here is my life. And corporations have
people that
destroyed.
took my
I'm angry in some of this. So I'm not cussing. I try not to ever do that. But these people destroyed my industry in Alaska by buying our price control in fish houses. Our price went from $1.15 to 17 cents last year on one of our biggest weights we've ever had, over a 1,000,000 pound season. This year we average about 40 cents for our fish, was waste of time basically. But this kind of goes through that. I just want the Warriors to know what I'm about, why I'm here, and this gives a little bit of why I'm really here. I want to save our planet. Thank you to the Warriors. Please watch this and tell me what y'all thought about it. Thank you.
Good morning, freedom fighters. It is March 1st, 2024. I'm making a new genocide video. Please watch it. This is one of the most important videos, most likely on the internet, and it is the most shadow banned videos of all topics. Besides chemtrailing, they do not want you to see the death they are creating. I didn't know where to start because we are losing all trees. I'm going to go over trees, insects, birds, then my life as a fisherman that I've lost as well at the end here. Please stand by for the video. It's very, very important, way more important than any of the distractions they have y'all listening or watching, like games of any kind, or these ridiculous TV shows and arguments over politicians. I've been to DC. They are all best of friends. They are all going to the same parties and colleges and schools activities. They are best of friends. These politicians are not here for us, or they would be talking about these 8 million standing dead trees in Colorado, New Mexico. We are losing all life on this planet, and I'm going to show it to you, but I want y'all to watch it. People are not watching 2 minutes of my videos. Florida here, we're losing our trees. North Carolina, losing all the beautiful trees. Not bugs, they're poisoning it. All right, we're losing our trees. Mexico, Canada, it don't matter. Alaska, I can just keep going. All right, let's go to the insects. Some of the most important creatures on the planet, they are collapsing. Beautiful insects. We used to have to clean our windshields off when you drove down the highway. Incredible, beautiful bugs. Nothing horrible about them. I wish we had the mosquitoes again. Insects in insect crisis. It's a crisis. We've lost all insects. We have poisoned everything. I don't even know what that graph's about. But all right, let's move on to the next thing. What's birds? Thousands of dead birds. September, thousands. This is unbelievable how many birds are dying. They call it bird flu. How about when they turned the 5G network up, it just killed all the birds? Or the aluminum so toxic that it's just killing all the birds? 200,000 birds dead in North Carolina. I seen feathers in Alaska. I've never seen rafts of feathers like we seen a few years back in Bristol Bay. Rafts of feathers. Been there 15 years in Alaska. I've never seen nothing like it. It was like all the birds died. Chicago, one night, thousands of birds dead. New York City, I seen where it was 200,000 birds dead. We are losing all life, guys. It has nothing to do with bird flu. All right, birds are dead, the insects are dead, the trees are dying. How about my precious fish that I make a living off of? Florida's red tide, they poisoned it by releasing the Piney Point phosphate plant. They poisoned the entire Tampa Bay, killed it over and over again, and blame it on red tide. Has nothing to do with red tide. Texas, millions of pounds of fish. I'm going to go back up the top here. That was New York. New York. That's Gulf Coast. That's in Texas still. It was just on and on. There's Australia, dead fish. Let's see if I can find some other locations here. I've lost my livelihood. I've lost my ability. I used to make thousands of dollars a day commercial fishing, and now I cannot even pay my bills because it's dead. They destroyed it. That's in San Francisco. Their fish are dead in California. Ah, mercy. Philippines, millions of dead fish. All right, the fish are dying, birds are dead, the insects are dying, the trees are dying. Well, you know what? It's got to be our turn, huh? How about this is diabetes, I believe, or obesity. I don't know which. Yeah, this is diabetes. Diabetes is through the roof. They're not only poisoning our lands and our oceans, they have poisoned us. People are dying. Kids are dying. Y'all taking stuff in your bodies. You have never asked what it is. For some of the people, I know there's people here that does, but this is obesity. Obesity went up 500% in my lifetime. Do not eat bread. Bread's one of the worst things you could put in your body. Do not consume any sugar products, any processed food. It's all poisonous. Sugar was deemed toxic to your body in 1974. It's poisonous. Do not put any sugar in your body. It has rotted my teeth and my body. Commercial fishermen done with their day's rant. We're losing all life on this planet. There's no denying it. Y'all need to stop playing the games and help fight. I am all putting it all in. I have nothing else here but to save us. I know we're not going to win unless 340 million Americans and the rest of the world wake up to what is going on here. I used to make thousands of dollars a day catching red snapper. They took it from us for no reason. Every time I've made money, they take it from us. They bought all our fish houses up in Alaska. Stand by. They have killed everything, bought our fish houses up, and they're going to farm it. These are the devils. These people are nothing but the devils with these fucking fake smiles. Excuse my language. These are the people that took my life. Fortune Seafood. Every one of these guys. They are all in on it. Every one of these companies needs to be boycotted and shut down. Watch the beginning. Cargill, Red Lobster, Cisco. All these companies destroyed us. $50 million was given by the U.S. government to these companies to buy our industry, and they have in 5 years. They have bought it all. They shut down the one on the East Coast this week. Alaska, $15. Now we're getting 17 cents for our fish. We're not even going purse seining this year. I'm going to go back to gill netting and hope we get anything. Commercial fishermen standing by. We are losing everything, and they have bought everything. They are destroying it, poisoning it, and I don't even realize the end game here. It's just going to be death. Millions and millions of people will die. 100 million almost died last war, World War II. It will be billions this time. Commercial fishermen standing by. Please stand up and defend yourself now.
Our food has been used as a weapon for thousands of years, most likely. Thank you, warriors, whoever's left at 18 minutes. Thank you. That was my life they are destroying. But that's not my worst fear. I believe they're taking over our farms and seafood industry because we provide food. Without the fishermen, there is no food. This is a really good video from a day in history about starvation. I've been wanting to share for a very long time. If there is kids, y'all might want to watch it first before you show it. I don't know. They show a picture that I have that's of this town, of this famine, and it's sad. And I just want to warn y'all to kind of watch it before you show any young children. Heartbreaking. I'm not really sure why they hate us so much. They destroyed everything in World War II. They leveled all the cities while their families were safe in Argentina. Beautiful German cities in Argentina I can show y'all, but I won't do it on this video. There is videos on my link where you can look up German cities in Argentina. Very dark history there. but not as dark as what they did to India. And this wasn't the Germans, this was the British. Horrible truth here. Thank you, my friends, at 20 minutes, and I only show you truth, and I love educating people at the end on stuff that's happened in history that I know for fact to be real. I've seen the evidence. Stand by for a horrible truth that may be soon our own future, our own destiny here, because they are controlling our food. If you not get where I'm headed here, stand by. Enjoy this man's work. It's very good.
Serves as an example of one of the worst and most fatal atrocities. The Bengal famine of 1943 serves as an example of one of the worst and most fatal atrocities in modern history. It is also the only famine in India that is recognized to be caused by man-made factors. Greed, complacency, and even racism all played a role. It claimed the lives of 2 to 4 million Bengalis. It reduced the appearance of otherwise healthy men, women, and children to skeletons. Like life, history is complicated. History merely seeks to record life, so it must be. History tells us that its celebrated figures can be capable of both immense bravery, but also shocking inhumanity. The story of the Bengal famine drives this concept home, forcing us to re-examine past beliefs and arrive at more nuanced conclusions about such figures. Join us as we uncover this extremely tragic and difficult history. Bengal is a region located in southern Asia, on the eastern part of the Indian subcontinent. After the partition in 1947, it was divided up between India and Pakistan. Before that, it was under the control of the British Raj, and was under its rule during the Second World War. A common worry among British politicians and military officials in early 1942 was a potential strategic Japanese invasion of India, and Bengal specifically. Colonial Burma, which bordered Bengal, had been taken by the Japanese in March 1942, and they have been bombing some Bengali cities. As the border between Bengal and Burma became the eastern front of the war effort as a result, rice supplies were reassigned from Bengal to feed Allied troops situated on the border. So, the Japanese occupation and consequently British requisition of rice supplies had the effect of drastically reducing provisions of Burmese rice to the region on which it was previously heavily reliant. Anxious of invasion, then British Prime Minister Winston Churchill ordered that food provisions to India, and specifically Bengal, were blocked, if not significantly reduced. This was to prevent Japanese access to ready-made supplies in the event of an invasion. Boats were also burned to prevent easy access, which damaged the ability of the region to receive food imports. Fishermen and boatmen also lost their livelihoods as a result. While some have attributed the cause of the famine to natural factors such as drought and a dearth of favorable conditions for staple food crop production, many historians have since demonstrated that during the famine period, rainfall was higher than average, and crop yields were at a normal level. It is fair to say that food supplies in India, in general, had already begun to be severely depleted through British imperial involvement, as foodstuffs were exported to Britain to provide financing for its industry. In the early 1900s, yearly per capita food consumption, or food consumption by person, was around 210 kilograms. By the 1930s, this figure had been reduced to just 130 kilograms. The role of the war served to make this problem worse. It had ravaged transport and logistical facilities, making much-needed food harder to distribute, causing its price to rise as a result. The costs of Allied war presence in India, it was decided by the colonial government, would be covered by indirect taxes upon Indian constituents, which came in the form of inflation. War saw inflation rise dramatically, and the price of rice went up as much as 300%, meaning the poorest were simply unable to afford it, as wages remained at the same level. Economic anthropologist Jason Hickel has argued that this unchecked inflation was a deliberate policy by the British to divert spending power away from the poor people towards the military, as any profits raised by businesses selling the now extremely expensive rice were taxed by the British to support the war effort. Indeed, from the period 1939 to 1944, the British extracted as much as $20 billion worth of income from India. Food for poor Indians was diverted away from them to feed the hundreds of thousands of British, Indian, American, and Chinese troops who were sent to the region after Japan's invasion of Burma. Recent concerns over editing history are justified, and this atrocity, largely overshadowed by Britain's war success, helps to provide a fuller picture of the sacrifice made during the war by millions of Bengalis who had no say in the matter, as it was imposed upon them in large part by the decisions of British politicians. If you want to see more videos that are willing to uncover difficult but vitally important parts of history, please like and subscribe to support the channel, and continue to follow along with us on our journey to create a more thoughtful society through the teaching of history. Winston Churchill is rightly revered as an inspirational figure whose courage in standing up to Germans was a key factor in the defeat of the Nazis during World War II. However, history has consistently demonstrated to us that even some of its greatest figures had deep and even perhaps unforgivable flaws. Churchill's role in perpetuating the famine helps us explore the nuances of this great figure in history. Churchill's wartime cabinet was warned repeatedly by politicians in both India and Britain that the extensive appropriation of Indian resources to support the war effort would result in famine and many, many deaths. There were possible alternatives that could have been used. It is estimated that using their resources instead, Britain and the US could have taxed their citizens at around £1 per person to facilitate a similar level of support for the Allied war effort. In response to concerns about the sheer mortality the famine instigated by British policy, Churchill is quoted by historians as having said the problem was only a problem because Indians were breeding like rabbits. Early on in 1942, Leo Amery, the Secretary of State for India, had been petitioning Churchill's cabinet to increase food aid to India, and made the argument that, so far as shipping is concerned, the import of food, to my mind, is just as, if not more important, than the import of munitions. However, Churchill ignored Amery's request. In a diary entry, Amery was mystified at Churchill's inaction, writing that Churchill makes no sufficient allowance for the sense of empire responsibility in this country. Not all blame for the famine can be attributed to Churchill, who was operating in the context of a wholly unprecedented military situation. There were also likely some crop shortages due to environmental factors that played a role, but on their own, they were not significant enough to result in a famine of this magnitude. If the famine had occurred in peacetime, it would never have been nearly as severe or even happened in the first place. During the war, however, Churchill was fatally indifferent towards its effect, a factor which helped to result in the deaths of millions of Bengalis, with their unchosen sacrifice now an uncomfortable stain in British imperial history. It was claimed at the time by both the British colonial government and local Indian governments that food hoarding by Bengali individuals and businesses was a factor in the famine. People profited off death by hoarding food supplies and selling them to the highest bidder at vastly inflated prices. The 1945 Famine Commission report, which examined the causes of the famine, determined that an atmosphere of fear and greed played a role in raising the price level of rice. The Commission also recognized that enormous profits were made out of the calamity, and, in the circumstances, profits for some meant death for others. However, while these practices were present, they were not prevalent enough to play any significant role in the famine. After the local government mandated fines for any instances of hoarding food supplies, only a small number of traders were fined, suggesting that there was no large-scale speculative hoarding. The report was also heavily critical of the local Bengali government in its role in perpetuating the famine. A decision in favor of decontrol was taken in March 1943. Decontrol was a policy carried out by the Bengali government that relied upon unrestricted free trade as a remedy to the crisis. However, what was needed was a strong willingness for the government to heavily control trade, so that it was ensured food supplies would reach those most at risk from death by starvation, the poorest Bengalis situated in the lowest socio-economic positions. However, while these factors did play a role, it has to be recognized that the 1945 Bengal Famine Commission report was a British endeavour, and all of its members were appointed by the British government of India. Notably, the report failed to properly attribute blame to the policies of denial and lack of support by the British colonial regime. Most of the blame was given to the Bengali, majority Muslim, government. The report should be viewed as a tactic to quell a growing nationalist and anti-imperial sentiment in India by framing the famine as a disaster caused primarily by a Muslim-majority government, thus directing attention away from the role of the British. The Bengal famine serves as an example of the effects of indifference by those situated at the top of power structures. While great historical figures such as Winston Churchill are rightly revered for their bravery, it is our duty as historians to provide a more nuanced depiction of them, to recognize the suffering and sacrifice they inflicted upon innocent people. The famine was not caused by Indians breeding like rabbits, but rather the fatal indifference of those at the top of the British imperial regime.
Thank you to the Warriors of 31 minutes. The awful truth. Central is CIA. We do not own Central. It is privately owned. And here's the boss. The truth. They said we cannot handle the truth. I have some proof that Hitler survived and lived in Argentina. He was seen years after his supposedly suicide, which would make sense if they were working both sides. I've always wondered where Hitler got all the money. Such a poor man, how did he get the millions and millions of dollars in backing? Printed money, partly, but Rothschild. He's a Rothschild, supposedly. A grandson of a Rothschild or something. Why he didn't die. And we never see the bodies. They didn't die. You know what I mean? I don't even think Mr. Epstein's dead. We never see the body. Hollywood's pretty incredible, and it's been running the show for a very long time. They're going to show the sheep some incredible illusions while they spray us and lie to us about everything. All the trees are dying outside my house. There's barely a bird. I have barely any fish to go fishing for. My life is completely turned upside down because of these lunatics. And I don't have any children, but I fight for yours. I'm going to leave you at that today, Warriors. I got to get busy. Commercial fisherman standing by. There is donation links in the description if anybody wants to buy some drywall for my mom's house or something. Very much appreciated. I don't know why it pains me so much to even ask for help, but the fishing, see, the ocean's always provided for them. I've never asked for help from any a government official or human. Two different people there, aren't it? I've never even had to ask my parents for anything. I have fished my entire life. But we are at war, and most people doesn't see it. And your children need you desperately. Please help spread the word. And again, thank you to the Warriors for sharing my work, especially great warriors like Dutchanese. Please thank him for me if anybody would. I appreciate it. Commercial Fisherman out. Y'all have a great day, a good evening, a good night, and a good morning. We are all on different timelines. It is almost 10 a.m. here in Florida, and it is 11 p.m. where my dad is in the Philippines. Have a good night, my father. See you on the other side. Commercial Fisherman out.